Have you ever wondered if democracy might be holding us back? I know, it sounds crazy, right? But hear me out. There's this philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, who had some pretty wild ideas about democracy. And trust me, his full quote will shock you. Picture this, it's the late 1800s, and Nietzsche is dropping bombs like democracy is a form of decay, and calling it the diminution of man. Ouch. But before we write him off as some cranky elitist, let's dive deeper into what he really meant. Nietzsche wasn't your average philosopher. He was a rebel, a provocateur, always challenging the status quo. And when it came to democracy, he didn't pull any punches. In his book Beyond Good and Evil, he wrote something that'll make your head spin. We, who regard the democratic movement as a form of decay, namely the diminution of man, toward new philosophers, spirits strong and original enough to provide the stimuli for opposite valuations. Now, I know what you're thinking, is this guy for real? But stick with me, because Nietzsche's critique goes way deeper than just hating on democracy. See, Nietzsche had this idea that democracy was like the new religion, taking over from Christianity. And just like he criticized Christianity for promoting weakness and mediocrity, he saw democracy doing the same thing. He thought it was all about making everyone equal, but at the cost of greatness. Imagine a world where everyone's so focused on being the same that we forget to celebrate what makes us unique. That's what Nietzsche was worried about. He saw democracy as this big, comfy blanket that wraps everyone up in sameness, suffocating the sparks of genius and excellence. But here's where it gets interesting. Nietzsche wasn't calling for some kind of tyranny or dictatorship. No, he was more like that cool, eccentric uncle who wants you to break free from the crowd and find your own path. He was all about individual freedom and creativity, but he worried that democracy was turning us all into sheep. Think about it. How often do we hear people say, "Oh, I'm just average," or "I'm nothing special"? Nietzsche would be pulling his hair out if he heard that. He believed in the power of exceptional individuals to push humanity forward. But in a world where everyone's vote counts the same, where we're all supposed to fit in, how do we make room for those game changers? Now, I can already hear the objections, but democracy is about fairness. It's about giving everyone a voice, and you're not wrong. But Nietzsche would argue that true fairness isn't about making everyone the same. It's about giving everyone the chance to be exceptional in their own way. So, here's the million-dollar question. Is democracy holding us back, or lifting everyone up? Before you answer, let's dig a little deeper into Nietzsche's beef with democratic values. He saw this huge clash between what he called the herd mentality and true greatness. On one side, you've got the comfort of fitting in, of being part of the crowd. On the other, you've got the lonely path of the creator, the innovator, the one who dares to be different. Nietzsche was all about that second path. He believed that human progress, real cultural advancement, comes from those rare individuals who break the mold. But here's the kicker. He thought democracy was making it harder and harder for those people to emerge. Think about our culture today. We're all about likes, followers, going viral. But how often does that reward true originality? Nietzsche would probably look at our social media feeds and say, "See, this is exactly what I was talking about." But before we get down on democracy, let's remember something crucial. Nietzsche wasn't calling for some kind of return to tyranny or oppression. He was more like that teacher who pushes you because they see your potential. He wanted a society where exceptional individuals could thrive, but not at the expense of everyone else's freedom. So, how do we square this circle? Can we have a democracy that lifts everyone up while still making room for those spirits strong and original that Nietzsche talked about? Maybe the answer lies in rethinking what we mean by equality. What if, instead of trying to make everyone the same, we focused on giving everyone an equal shot at being exceptional in their own way? Imagine a democracy that celebrates difference, that encourages people to stand out instead of fit in. But here's where it gets tricky. How do we balance that individual greatness with the needs of society as a whole? Nietzsche didn't really have an answer for that, and honestly, neither do I. But I think it's a question worth wrestling with. As we wrap up this journey through Nietzsche's thoughts on democracy, I want to leave you with one last mind bender. Nietzsche wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. In our modern, democratic world, are we still fighting that same battle? Look around you. How many people do you see just going with the flow, afraid to rock the boat? Now, how many are out there pushing boundaries, challenging norms, daring to be different? And most importantly, which group do you want to be in?" Nietzsche's critique of democracy isn't just some dusty old philosophy. It's a challenge to each of us. a challenge to think critically about the systems we live in, to question whether they're really serving our highest potential. So, the next time you hear someone praise democracy as the be-all and end-all of human organization, remember Nietzsche's words, not to reject democracy outright, but to ask, how can we make it better? How can we create a society that values both equality and excellence, that lifts everyone up while still reaching for the stars? Because at the end of the day, that's what Nietzsche was really after. Not the destruction of democracy, but its evolution into something that could truly unleash human potential. So, I'll leave you with this final question. In your life, in your community, how can you be one of those spirits strong and original that Nietzsche talked about? How can you push for a kind of democracy that doesn't just protect mediocrity, but actively encourages greatness? The answer, my friends, is up to you. But whatever you do, don't just go with the flow. Challenge yourself, challenge others, and who knows, maybe together, we can create a democracy that even Nietzsche would be proud of. In the annals of philosophical thought, few figures have sparked as much controversy as Friedrich Nietzsche. His scathing critique of democracy has echoed through the ages, challenging our most cherished political ideals. But did Nietzsche truly despise democracy? Or was his criticism more nuanced than we've been led to believe? Let's dive into the heart of Nietzsche's most provocative statement on democracy, found in his posthumously published work, The Will to Power. Brace yourself, for his words are as sharp as they are unsettling. Democracy represents the disbelief in all great men and in all elite societies. At bottom we are all herd and mob. These words land like a thunderbolt, shattering our complacent assumptions about the virtues of democratic society. But before we rush to judgment, let's unpack the layers of meaning behind Nietzsche's bold declaration. At first glance, Nietzsche's critique appears to be a wholesale rejection of democracy's core principles. He sees in democracy not a celebration of equality and individual rights, but a sinister force that levels all distinctions, reducing humanity to its lowest common denominator. In Nietzsche's eyes, democracy is the ultimate expression of what he calls herd morality, a system that prizes conformity over creativity, mediocrity over excellence. But why would Nietzsche, a thinker renowned for his penetrating insights into human nature, take such a dim view of democracy? To understand his perspective, we must delve deeper into his philosophical worldview. For Nietzsche, the greatest tragedy of the modern age was the death of greatness itself. He saw in democracy not a path to human flourishing, but a suffocating blanket that smothers exceptional individuals beneath the weight of collective mediocrity. In a democratic society, he argued, the truly extraordinary are forced to conform to the standards of the masses, their potential for greatness stifled by the tyranny of the majority. This brings us to Nietzsche's ideal of the Übermensch, the overman or superman who transcends the limitations of conventional morality to create new values and push the boundaries of human achievement. In Nietzsche's vision, these exceptional individuals are the true drivers of human progress, the visionaries and creators who propel civilization forward. But in a democratic system, Nietzsche feared, such individuals would be crushed beneath the wheels of egalitarianism. The very notion of exceptionalism becomes suspect, viewed as a threat to the democratic ideal of equality. In this light, Nietzsche's critique takes on a new dimension, not as a rejection of human rights, but as a passionate defense of human potential. Yet, we must ask ourselves, is Nietzsche's vision of aristocratic radicalism truly incompatible with democratic values? Or is there a way to reconcile the pursuit of excellence with the principles of equality and individual freedom? As we grapple with these questions, it's crucial to recognize that Nietzsche's critique of democracy was not a call for tyranny or dictatorship. Rather, it was a plea for a society that could nurture greatness while still respecting individual liberty. He envisioned a form of aristocratic radicalism, a system governed not by hereditary privilege, but by those individuals of exceptional spirit and creativity, who could lead humanity to new heights. But here's where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes truly challenging. He forces us to confront the tension between our democratic ideals and our admiration for exceptional achievement. In a world that increasingly values conformity and consensus, are we losing sight of the transformative power of individual greatness? Consider the great innovators and visionaries of our time, the artists, scientists, and entrepreneurs who push the boundaries of what's possible. How do we create a society that nurtures such exceptional talents while still upholding the principles of democratic equality? This is the crux of Nietzsche's challenge to modern democracy. He compels us to ask whether our current systems truly allow for the flourishing of human potential, or whether they inadvertently stifle the very excellence they claim to promote. As we reflect on Nietzsche's critique, we're left with a profound question that cuts to the heart of our democratic values. Would you prefer a world of equal mediocrity, or one that celebrates and nurtures extraordinary creators? It's a question that defies easy answers, forcing us to confront the inherent tensions within our democratic ideals. On one hand, we cherish the notion of equality before the law, and equal opportunity for all. On the other, we recognize that human beings are not equal in talent, ambition, or creative potential. How do we reconcile these competing truths? Perhaps the answer lies not in rejecting democracy outright, but in reimagining it. Can we envision a form of democracy that preserves individual rights and equality under the law, while also creating space for exceptional individuals to flourish? A system that values both collective well-being and individual greatness? This is the challenge that Nietzsche's critique poses to us today. It's not a call to abandon democracy, but to evolve it, to create a society that can nurture the Übermensch, while still protecting the rights of all. As we grapple with these weighty questions, it's worth remembering that Nietzsche himself was no advocate of tyranny. His ideal of aristocratic radicalism was not about imposing the will of the few upon the many, but about creating a culture that could recognize and cultivate true greatness. In the end, Nietzsche's critique of democracy serves as a powerful reminder of the complexities inherent in any political system. It challenges us to look beyond simplistic notions of equality and to consider how we can create a society that truly allows all individuals to reach their full potential. So, as we reflect on Nietzsche's provocative words, let's not dismiss them as mere anti-democratic rhetoric. Instead, let's see them as a call to action, a challenge to reimagine democracy for the 21st century and beyond. Can we create a system that balances the needs of the many with the aspiration of the exceptional few? Can we build a society that values both equality and excellence, collective well-being and individual greatness? These are the questions that Nietzsche's critique forces us to confront, and in grappling with them, we may just find a path to a more vibrant, dynamic, and truly democratic future, one that nurtures the potential for greatness in all of us. As we close this exploration of Nietzsche's complex relationship with democracy, we're left with a final, thought-provoking question. In our quest for a more perfect democracy, how can we ensure that we don't sacrifice the very excellence and creativity that make human progress possible? The answer, like democracy itself, is a work in progress, a challenge that each generation must take up anew. But by engaging with Nietzsche's critique, we open ourselves to new possibilities, new ways of thinking about the delicate balance between individual greatness and collective well-being. In the end, perhaps the true measure of a democracy is not just how it treats its average citizens, but how it nurtures its most exceptional ones, for in doing so, it may just unlock the potential for greatness that lies dormant within us all. Let's dive into the mind of Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher whose ideas have often been misunderstood. It's crucial to clarify, Nietzsche wasn't calling for simple tyranny. He was seeking great politics, rooted in excellence and balance, not mass rule. In his work Twilight of the Idols, Nietzsche praised the tension of rival forces within the state, and favored political systems that protected individual distinction, not average comfort. Nietzsche's political philosophy is far more nuanced than many realize. He differentiated between democracy and exceptional liberty, viewing them as distinct concepts. For Nietzsche, the ideal political system wasn't about giving equal power to all, but rather about creating an environment where exceptional individuals could thrive and lead. This doesn't mean Nietzsche was advocating for a totalitarian regime. On the contrary, he valued liberal freedom for the strong, not mob rule. His vision was of a society where the most capable and visionary individuals had the freedom to pursue greatness, unencumbered by the mediocrity that he believed democracy could sometimes encourage. Nietzsche admired what he called great politics, a concept that stood in stark contrast to both populist movements and totalitarian regimes. He envisioned a political landscape where competing ideas and forces could clash productively, leading to cultural and intellectual growth. This was not about oppression or domination, but about fostering an environment where excellence could emerge. Interestingly, Nietzsche didn't outright reject democracy. He saw it as potentially useful, but with a crucial caveat: democracy was acceptable as long as it didn't threaten the cultivation of greatness. In his view, the danger of democracy lay in its potential to prioritize the average over the exceptional, to value comfort and security over challenge and growth. This perspective paints Nietzsche not as an anti-democrat, but as an aristocratic liberal, He believed in the importance of individual liberty, particularly for those he saw as capable of driving society forward. His ideal political system would protect the rights of all while creating space for the most exceptional to rise and lead. Nietzsche's views challenge us to think deeply about the nature of democracy and its goals. Should a democratic system aim solely for equality, or should it also strive to cultivate excellence? Can we create a form of democracy that celebrates and nurtures greatness while still protecting the rights of all citizens? These questions lead us to a crucial crossroads in political philosophy. So should we abandon democracy or redefine it? Nietzsche's ideas suggest that perhaps there's a middle ground, a way to preserve the core values of democracy while also creating space for exceptional individuals to flourish. The challenge lies in finding a balance. How can we create a political system that protects individual rights, ensures a basic level of equality, and yet still allows for the emergence of exceptional leaders and thinkers? Is it possible to have a democracy that doesn't flatten all individuals to the same level, but instead provides a platform for the most capable to rise and contribute their unique talents? Nietzsche's philosophy pushes us to consider whether our current democratic systems truly serve the best interests of society. Are we fostering an environment where greatness can emerge, or are we inadvertently suppressing exceptional talent in the name of equality? This isn't about creating a society of elites ruling over the masses. Rather, it's about recognizing that true progress often comes from those who think differently, who challenge the status quo, and who have the courage to pursue bold visions. A political system that stifles these voices in favor of maintaining a comfortable average might be doing society a disservice. At the same time, we must be cautious. History has shown us the dangers of systems that prioritize the supposed exceptional at the expense of the many. The challenge is to find a way to nurture greatness without creating oppression, to celebrate excellence without diminishing the value of every individual. Perhaps the solution lies in redefining what we mean by democracy. Instead of seeing it as a system that aims for absolute equality in all things, we could view it as a framework that provides equal opportunities for greatness to emerge. This would mean creating a society where education, resources, and opportunities are accessible to all, but where individual achievement and excellence are also celebrated and rewarded. In this vision, democracy becomes a system that protects the basic rights of all citizens while also creating an environment where the most capable can rise to positions of influence. It's a delicate balance, but one that could potentially lead to a more dynamic, innovative, and progressive society. Nietzsche's ideas, controversial as they may be, offer us a chance to reevaluate our assumptions about democracy and political systems. They challenge us to think beyond the conventional and consider new possibilities for organizing society. As we grapple with these complex ideas, we're left with a profound question. Can democracy evolve to celebrate greatness, or will it always flatten us all? The answer to this question could shape the future of our political systems and, by extension, the course of human progress. This is not a simple issue with easy answers. It requires us to engage in deep, critical thinking about the nature of society, leadership, and human potential. It asks us to consider whether our current systems are truly serving us in the best way possible, or if there might be alternative approaches that could lead to greater achievements and a more fulfilling society for all. As we ponder these questions, we're participating in the kind of philosophical inquiry that Nietzsche himself would have appreciated. We're challenging assumptions, exploring new ideas, and striving for a deeper understanding of how we can create a society that brings out the best in all of us. The journey to answer these questions is ongoing, and it's one that each generation must undertake anew as we face the challenges of our time. Nietzsche's ideas continue to provoke, inspire, and challenge us to think differently about the foundations of our society and the potential for human greatness.